very good afternoon to you out there, and thanks for joining us on Yesma Radio. This is Global News. In the headlines, Obaseki holds virtual meeting with Buhari. Supreme Court strikes out suit challenging legality of virtual court sitting. NCC-DC boss says we cannot rule out airborne transmission. And Okowa family test negative for coronavirus. On the foreign scene, California reimposes sweeping restrictions amid viral spike. In the world of sport, PGA Tour remaining tournament to take place behind closed doors. Now the news in detail. My name is Olatunde Idowu. Governor Godwin Obaseki of Edo State held a virtual meeting with the President, Muhammadu Buhari. The governor made this known after the meeting. He likened his relationship with President Buhari of that of a son to a father. In their meeting, Obaseki and the President engaged on development issues affecting the people of the state, which included the case management of the coronavirus pandemic. In his words, and I quote, "My relationship with President Muhammadu Buhari is that of a father and son. I was on a Zoom meeting with the President during which we engaged on development issues affecting Edo people and Nigerians. We also discussed measures to manage the spread of COVID-19, he wrote on Facebook with some photos of the meeting. The Supreme Court has struck out a suit brought by the Attorney General of Ekiti State, Olawale Fakbunda, against the Attorney General of the Federation regarding the legality of virtual court sitting. In the suit, Fakbunda asked the court to establish the directive issued by the AGF to the heads of courts at federal and state levels in relation to the conduct of virtual proceedings in court is not a contravention of the federalism provisions of the 1999 Constitution. He also asked the Apex Court to ascertain if the directive issued in line with the National Judicial Council is not a violation of the constitutional provisions on fair hearing as it relates to the conduct of criminal trials in public. Furthermore, Fakbunda asked the court to set aside or strike down directives to the extent that they purport to be binding on the Ekiti State High Court for being inconsistent with the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Ekiti State further asked the Supreme Court to determine whether the AGF's guidelines are not a derogation from the legislative, executive, and judicial lawmaking, law execution, and adjudicatory rules making powers exclusively vested in states of the Federation in respect of state courts by virtue of Section 1, Subsection 3, 4, Subsection 6, 5, Subsection 2 of the Constitution. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, says there are possibilities that coronavirus can be transmitted through the air. NCDC Director General Dr. Chikwe Ehiawazu disclosed this at the briefing of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and attributed it to new evidence. The disease is believed to only be transmissible through droplets that emanate from the nose and the mouth and fall to the ground, according to him. Meanwhile, Delta State Governor Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa has announced that himself, his wife, and daughter have tested negative for COVID-19. Okowa, in a Thanksgiving tweet earlier today, urged Deltans to obey all COVID-19 guidelines and do all they can to stay safe from contracting the virus. The governor and his wife reportedly tested positive on the 1st of July 2020. Suspected kidnappers have abducted 3 businessmen and 2 commercial motorcyclists along Danacha Borno Kurukuru in Gaso local government area of Taraba State. It was gathered that the businessmen were being conveyed by 2 commercial motorcyclists from Sabungida village to Borno Kurukuru weekly market when they ran into the gunmen who had already mounted a roadblock. A source in Sabungida village told our correspondent that the businessmen who were carrying huge sums of money were escorted into the bush at gunpoint with the 2 commercial motorcyclists. And on the foreign scene, California has reimposed restrictions on businesses and public spaces amidst a spike of coronavirus infection in America's most populous state. Governor Gavin Newsom yesterday ordered an immediate halt to all indoor activities at restaurants, bars, entertainment venues, zoos, and museums. In the worst affected countries of the southwestern U.S. state, churches, gyms, and hairdressers will also close. California has more than 330,000 COVID-19 cases with more than 7,000 deaths. The reimposition of the restrictions in the state with nearly 40 million people was prompted by a 20% rise in people testing positive in the past 2 weeks, and increasing numbers of Californians are now needing intensive care. And in sports, the remainder of the 2019-2020 PGA Tour will take place behind closed doors as cases of coronavirus continue to soar in the United States. Releasing coordinated statements, the remaining 9 tournaments said spectators will not be allowed. The 5 tournaments that have been played since the tour's resumption in June have taken place with no fans. Fans had been said to be allowed at the Memorial Tournament in Ohio, which starts on Thursday. The PGA Tour will conclude with the Tour Championship in Atlanta from the 4th to the 7th of September. These decisions are not easy, said Tour Championship Executive Director Alison Fillmore, who added it was the best decision for all involved. There are currently more than 3.3 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 across the U.S., and there have been more than 135,000 deaths, according to Johns Hopkins University. And that'll be all on Global News. But before I go, let me bring you a recap of the stories I brought to you earlier. In the news, we told you that Obaseki holds virtual meeting with Buhari. Supreme Court strikes out suit challenging legality of virtual court sittings. And NCDC boss says we cannot rule out airborne transmission of COVID-19. Okowa family test negative for COVID-19. And on the foreign scene, we brought you the story that California reimposes sweeping restrictions amid viral spike. And in sport, PGA Tour remaining tournament to take place behind closed doors. The news was put together by Banke Bilu Arilewo and delivered by Olatunde Idowu. The Yoruba version of Global News comes up immediately. Thanks for listening and good afternoon.